Hello, psychology students. Welcome. I am very sorry that I'm not there with you live and in person, but hopefully this will be somewhat useful and helpful as well. And I'm always available to meet with students when they want to learn more about what I do and what they can do as they move forward with their psychology degree. So again, thank you. It's really an honor. I'm going to jump right into the questions that were sent to me and then add a little more at the end. Certainly feel free to email me, jgordon@sportsconflict.org, if you have any individual questions, and I will be happy to follow up. So first question, what does my job entail and what is it that I do? So I am the founder of the Sports Conflict Institute, as well as an instructor at the University of Oregon in the Warsaw Sports Marketing Program. In my role as founder of SCI, well, we deal with sports conflict, everything on the field and off the field that you all read about in the professional realm and intercollegiate. We do a little bit of youth sports, but predominantly at the very high level of sport. So the things that you read about recently with Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin, with Michael Sam coming out as the first openly gay NFL player heading into the draft, with some of the locker room culture issues that have been arising, hazing, bullying, police blotter, any of those kind of things are things that we tend to work behind the scenes in working with coaches, athletes, administrators, and supporters in trying to figure out how they can predominantly prevent these things from happening, but certainly do crisis management and work closely with them to reduce the cost when they do happen. We've developed some tools that give you a sense of how expensive these things are. From a tangible cost standpoint, they can be in the millions of dollars when an incident happens, and from the intangible, all the things, student transfers, loss of quality of life, everything else that you can imagine is pretty substantial as well. So my job is to run the entire organization, and I also am a practitioner as well. So I mediate, I facilitate, I do assessment, I do analysis, I do some performance work with athletes and coaches around how can we optimize. So for example, working with Olympic athletes and trying to deal with all those stressors that happen around the outside edges of the sporting events themselves. So I care deeply about a variety of topics and issues, which means psychology has been at the root of everything that I've done. I was a psychology and sociology undergraduate major at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and then leveraged that for a conflict resolution degree at a master's level, and then my Juris Doctor, my law degree after that. So certainly multiple levels of education, but one of the things that always has been my guiding compass has been my psychology background. At every stage of what I do, I have to understand what it is that motivates and interests the others around me, both from an organizational standpoint and an individual standpoint. So you name it, organizational psychology, behavioral psychology, neuropsychology, all of these things are things I draw back in from. Believe it or not, the courses you probably hate, behavioral and social research, that's a huge part of what I do. We do qualitative data analysis. We make sure that our interview questions are going to give us a type of reliability and confidence levels that we want. So a lot of that science behind it becomes really important as well. So really what I do is I do the actual work, but I also have to go out and find our work and manage my team and manage my people. So there's a lot of psychology that goes into running a team and interns and very senior level folks, and then also dealing with some of the most high profile folks in the sports industry. Happy to answer more questions if you have it about what SCI is, but it's really in every way, shape, and form draws on my psychology background as we deal with conflict management, as we deal with organizations, and we deal with areas where there's a high pressure to win and succeed. Let me take on the next question. What did I do to get to where I am in my career? Well, certainly education is a big part of it. When I was an undergraduate, I spent a lot of time helping with courses. So I was a teaching assistant for Intro to Psych, for cognitive neuropsych, for behavioral psychology, and organizational psychology. Well, fast forward almost 22 years later, and I was out for a run in Eugene, and I saw a guy who looked very familiar. We kept recognizing each other. Well, it turned out it was a gentleman, Scott Fry, who had been in the psychology department here. He's now at Missouri. And we reconnected and we found opportunities to do a number of projects together around sports and neuroscience. And so a lot of it is, what are the relationships you build very early on from the moment you're an undergrad? What professors do you connect with? Who can you maintain connections with? You guys have tools now that I didn't have at my disposal, things like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Those are all incredibly easy ways to stay in touch with professors and other people in the professional field. And so a lot of what I did was make relationships over the time. I volunteered for everything I could. So I worked with the Attorney General's office. I worked with the Chancellor's office. I worked with an Ombuds office on campus. I mediated and got involved in anything I could. I trained other students in mediation. I did cultural trainings. You imagine whatever there was I could get involved in, I did. There's an opportunity to meet a guest speaker that came onto campus. I took that opportunity and I would beg for that 10-minute session where you could just schmooze a little bit and talk. And for me, a lot of that doesn't come very natural. I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. But if you're really passionate about the area you're in and you're meeting fascinating people, it kind of takes care of itself. Beyond that, education. So my master's degree and my law degree, each of those has been a building block for what I do and becomes a big part of it. And the relationships I've developed along there too. I've had a variety of jobs. When you look at my job titles and take a peek at LinkedIn, you can see the path is a zigzag. And maybe some of you start to wonder when you're in that zigzag, does it make sense? I was a child protective social worker. I've been a business analyst. I've been a compliance officer. I've been a project manager, an auditor, a risk assessor, mediator, facilitator, negotiator, organizational assessment, you name it. But so it all seems kind of disjointed until you look backward. When I look backward, everything I learned in any of those roles in my 20s and in my early 30s, they are things I draw on every day in my job now. And so that's really trying to figure out how is anything you're doing a building block to learning something. So it's always to me about how could I open doors rather than close doors, and then be opportunistic and somewhat purposeful in what I was trying to do. Question of how did I find my job? Well, interestingly, I created this job by creating the Institute itself. So there's something very entrepreneurial about that, but then I think there's a subtext, which is how do you find any job? And for me, every one of our projects has something similar to what you're all going through, trying to look for internships and jobs more long term. I have to go out there and make the relationships each and every time that we do a project. So whether working with the NFL or a specific team, or working with one of the major college programs out there, they have to trust that I know what I'm doing and that I can help solve one of their problems. So more than anything else, I try and present a professional image in every way that I can. So my Facebook is not going to reveal a lot of my private life. My Twitter is not going to be quoting horrible lyrics from songs. No, instead it's going to be related to my job and what I do, and sharing personal things that I'm comfortable sharing, but that I'd be comfortable sharing if we were in a room in a business conference meeting. So same thing there. I go out and I have to use technology, I have to use relationships, and I have to keep my eye open for what opportunities are available. And over time, you start to build that reputation. Well, same thing for you as an individual. If you do a great job on an internship and really impress and go overboard in terms of your effort and your expertise, you start to build a brand for yourself and a reputation. And those are the things that we all take notice on. And we're always looking for excellent people. And then we teach you the specific skills. So really, it's a lot of the intangibles that go a long way. Question, how'd you know that this was what I wanted to do with my career and degree? Well, I knew very early that psychology was something that I loved, and so the coursework came naturally. I enjoyed every single course I ever took. I was reading these things on my own anyways, and then I got involved with some really interesting complex conflict at the University of Massachusetts. Fell in love with conflict management as an area, and it draws heavily from psychology, sociology, anthropology, and economics and law and a few other areas as well. So it became really clear to me that these were things that I cared about, and what I really knew in terms of this context of sports was I started doing this work in mediation at a very high level in environmental and natural resources. And so I was working in the state of Alaska, helping with a $500 million gas pipeline, and all my colleagues on the weekend, they're spending their time reading every journal and paper, and there are still newspapers, believe it or not, reading every journal and paper around these issues. And I found myself, as a guilty pleasure, reading the sports section, reading the sports business journal, watching games, going to games, competing myself. And there was an aha moment where I said, well, I'm clogging up a job for someone who's much more passionate about this area than I am, and I need to be working in a space where I'm passionate. More than anything else, I knew I found the right spot when I can't tell when I'm working or when I'm playing. That line between the two is very blurred for me. I don't know if what I'm doing is for work or for something I enjoy, because they're often one and the same. So really trying to find what you're passionate about, because that will give you the motivation to put in the long hours. I tend to work 6 or 7 days a week. I tend to work all day and not work at all at the same time. So look for your area of passion. Look for where you have specific expertise as well. Next question I have here is, what advice do I have for students currently getting their undergraduate degrees who are interested in a career like mine? Well, more than anything, do a self-assessment. Are you passionate about sports? Are you passionate about solving problems? Do you like a fast-paced environment? What is it that you enjoy, and what do you want your daily life to look like? Different jobs have a very different daily life. There are some jobs, I have a friend who's an actuary, and he loves it. Every day he gets to go in, listen to music, work on spreadsheets, have the same routine, it's predictable, gets in at 8:30, gets home at 5, and makes very good money. Another friend is a dentist, and very social, highly interactive, well paid, 3 days a week, loves it, enjoys it. Both of those careers would be incredibly wrong for me. I wouldn't enjoy it for a moment. And so you really have to think about, again, where your passion center is. As an undergraduate, building relationships, and doing it in every way you can. So when I'm teaching here at the University of Oregon, I am looking out for students who impress me, and who impress me in a way that I take notice, who get it, who solve problems in ways that I didn't even think about, and have a real thirst for learning. And to differentiate yourself is one of the challenges you have. And so how can you not just try and do the minimum or get things that are on your resume that look impressive, but can you learn from the experiences you have? Can you contribute to an organization if you're interning? Can you get involved in helping courses out in any way? Can you do research for a professor? Any of those things that allow you to tell compelling stories about how you've understood problems in this world and solve those problems is going to be meaningful. I think I'm running short on time here, so let me get through the last couple of questions here. Last question. What advice do I have heading into a job interview? This is a question I get asked a lot by my students. So they say, I have an interview coming up. What should I do? How should I prepare? How should I plan? And they start to tell me about all the things that they're going to do to impress, how they're going to explain how great this internship is going to be for them, how it's going to open up doors for them, what they hope to do with their lives. I think all of that is a wrong approach. What I would suggest for any of you is to research that organization, try and find what causes that organization pain, what are the jobs and tasks that they don't want to be doing on a daily basis that they need help with, and find a way to demonstrate that you can help solve some of those problems. It might be the mundane things, it might be the little nitty-gritty day-to-day, but if you can help solve problems for that organization and make yourself more valuable than trouble, then you have an opportunity. If you come in trying to tell them why you're an impressive person and they should simply hire you because you're going to help them in ways that are ambiguous or unclear, that's not going to go very far. So be specific, talk about the daily tasks that you're going to do, be clear on your time commitments that you can commit to and honor them, and make it a priority, and stay opportunistic. Look for those times when that organization is in crisis or has a moment where they're really on a tight deadline, and see how you can be helpful those types of relationships you build there could be really valuable, but take it seriously. So when you're looking out there for a job or an internship, start to think about what it is that you bring that's unique to the field. So again, hopefully I haven't gone too long. I really do wish I could be there with all of you. I think you're on the right path. I recommend the psychology major to a number of folks. I think it's a great background, and you can launch into 10 or 12 different career paths from a graduate degree program standpoint and many more just from where you'll end up anyway. So please do consider me a resource. My email again is jgordon@sportsconflict.org. My Twitter is @JoshuaGordon or @SportConflict, and I look forward to hearing from a number of you. Thank you very much. Bye.